And joining us from the Maryland Trump campaign, Jerry Cave. Good evening, Jerry.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
So first of all, the campaign shakeup, a new manager, a new CEO for Donald Trump for president. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't agree with your characterization. It's not a shakeup. Shakeup is subtraction and addition. This is an addition, and it's a natural transition of the campaign as it ramps up to add people. And what is key with Donald Trump is he doesn't add a lot of people, but they're really, really good. Steve Bannon brings a wealth of experience in media and business, and he will be a welcome addition strategically. And Kellyanne Conway is incredibly talented, both in polling and campaigning, and she will bring a lot of tactical assistance to the campaign.
So what kind of shift do you think we can expect to see, if any? Because there's always this sort of question around Donald Trump, if he should stay on his line that has been somewhat more provocative, or rather maybe appeal to the mainstream a little bit more.
Donald Trump does appeal to the mainstream. What he does, the reason it's called provocative.
The establishment, perhaps, is the better word.
We are anti-establishment because the establishment has put us in this situation where we are in a financially ruinous domestic situation. And I don't think I need to tell you or your viewers how bad the foreign policy is. The Middle East, which is the focus of our foreign policy, is literally on fire during the Obama-Clinton administration, and it could do nothing but get worse under Clinton. So he is anti-establishment for sure, and he is going to continue to tell the truth to the American people about the problems and plausible solutions.
So in terms of plausible solutions, you mentioned foreign policy. Let's talk foreign policy a little bit. We heard from Donald Trump more specifics this week on Monday in his foreign policy speech. Among the things that he mentioned was completely defeating IS. That's, of course, a goal that everybody has. How do you think he proposes to do it?
Well, the first thing you have to do in any problem is you have to identify the problem so you're working on the right problem. In the Obama-Clinton administration, they won't even identify the problem. They pulled back everywhere, and they don't apply anything. So they aren't even at the first stage. So obviously Donald Trump is a smart man. He hasn't been successful. He's been unbelievably successful at everything he's done. He brings in great people, and they solve the problem.
Does he have, in terms of everything he's done, are you confident in his foreign policy experience? Because there isn't really any to speak of.
Nobody has foreign policy experience until you get into the White House. To say, oh, I know how to be...
Well, as Secretary of State,
been there.
Theoretically, Hillary Clinton does.
Yes. And what do you think of it so far?
Well, I'm not here to weigh opinions, but in terms of who has foreign policy experience, arguably being Secretary of State does count as foreign policy experience.
And horrible experience it is. How do you consider the situation in Syria, in Libya, in Iraq, across the Middle East? The situation is much worse than it was 8 years ago, and she's got her fingerprints all over that foreign policy. So if you know one answer is wrong, from her past experience in foreign policy, you would eliminate that. An election is like a multiple answer test. You rule out the ones that are wrong first.
In terms of looking a little bit at Hillary Clinton, Obama, you mentioned, is the roots of some of that policy, something we've heard from the Trump campaign quite a bit over the past week or so, is accusing Obama and Clinton of sort of being the roots of ISIS, of also of nation building and regime building, when that is in fact a policy that George W. Bush started. So is there any sort of, admission within the Trump campaign that that policy, the regime building, for example, may have started before Obama's administration?
George Bush tried to take the most Western nation in the Middle East, other than yours, which was Iraq, and try to build a nation and hope that democracy would take root, because no democracy goes around making war with other countries. And I would not say that it was successful, but whatever he accomplished and whatever America accomplished under his stewardship has been dismantled in that area by the Obama administration. They have not done nation building, they have done nation destruction. And the situation is worse. You can characterize however you want. You can listen to American media, which is against Trump, or you can look at the results. Just look at the net results of 8 years of Obama, and much of which was Hillary Clinton at foreign policy at State Department.
Jerry Cave, stay with us. I want to jump to foreign affairs correspondent Owen Alterman with me here. So we hear it. Foreign policy experience, foreign policy. What is it actually going to be? A big issue in this campaign.
Well, I think it's, as usual in American elections, I think it'll be a lesser issue to the bread and butter economic issues that we heard Hillary Clinton speaking about before, that Donald Trump speaks to on many occasions. But there was something very, very important we heard from our guest, which is this anti-establishment message. He said it very directly: we are anti-establishment, exclamation point. This looks to be Trump's core message going down the stretch. Robert Costa of the Washington Post, Mark Halperin, a journalist who has covered numerous presidential cycles, both feel that this is Trump's best bet to get to the finish line, set up this contrast between change and the status quo, and that's his best bet for the get to the win.
So, Jerry, jumping back to you, what do you think Donald Trump's biggest hurdles might be now in this sort of final stretch leading to November?
It's very clear. He has the biggest hurdle he has is the same one every Republican has had for the last 40 years. The media is united against them. They have always been that way. And now they're actually overt, and they admit it, and they are proud of it. And the reason they have had to ramp it up is because Donald Trump is a stronger candidate. He is stronger on telling the truth. He is a better communicator, and he has the courage to tell the truth to the American people and to be on TV while Hillary Clinton is hiding. She hasn't had a press conference all year. So they are only ratcheting up because they have to get a kill shot on Donald Trump. And the media could do a lower version of it against John McCain or Mitt Romney, but against Trump they have to pull out all the stops. So the biggest hurdle to fixing foreign policy, which will help Israel, is the American media.
Jerry, on that note of media, just a sort of question, give us a little peek into your experience. You work in communications in the Maryland Trump campaign. Donald Trump sort of now famously known as somebody who sort of does what he wants, certainly on Twitter. How much sort of input does the campaign have on what goes out there?
Donald Trump calls the shots. Now, presidential campaigns are won and lost in two media. One is television, on which he is peerless. He has tremendous experience. And even when he makes mistakes, he dominates the news cycle for 36 hours and he jumps in again. The other place where, the other theater of operations, if it were, is social media. And he dominates in social media. They are 5 times more social media interaction and engagement than the Hillary campaign. And third, if I can say one other thing, it's events. Donald Trump draws in tens of thousands of people to his campaign. And for example, in Philadelphia, which has 750,000 registered Democrats, Hillary Clinton struggled to get several hundred people to come to an event.
Jerry Cave in Maryland, thanks very much for weighing in tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
And and I just want to jump back to you. There's this question, so he says, and he's probably right, Donald Trump does great at sort of getting attention in all forms. How much